Thanks for joining us on VIP TV. And with us today is a man who's got a really big task next weekend. He knows that. And I'm sure everyone, apart from those closest to him, have told him how hard it's going to be. It's Marcus Morrison. Marcus, thanks for joining us on VIP TV today and affording us some time. How are you?
No worries, mate. Thank you for having me. And I'm good. I'm in a good place, both mentally and physically. And, I just can't wait for the fight to come around now.
Did you expect the sort of, the Twitter brigade and boxing in general to dismiss you for this fight when it was announced?
Yeah, of course. That was me. Truth, that was one of my first thoughts, thinking, the stick. But to be honest, it doesn't faze me. I knew it was coming, but it was something I was prepared for. And I just think, come fight night, there'll be a lot of people eating the words.
How did the fight come about? Obviously, I think I know you're linked with Matchroom, but with Matt, how did the fight come about for you?
This isn't a fight that I thought would happen at all, to be honest. With Chris being at super middleweight for a long time, it's not a fight that I looked for, or one, like I said, that I thought would happen at all. And it was just out of the blue for me, a phone call off Joe, obviously being my manager. And yeah, it was just out of the blue for me, and just a shock to me as it was to, I'm sure everyone else when it was announced.
When Joe put the fight to you, did you say, I'll think about it? Did you discuss it with him, or did you just say yes straight away, even if he had said, we could go another route? How did the conversation go with Joe?
No, straight away. Look, Joe will tell you if you speak to Joe. A fight like this, I don't need asking twice. These are the sort of fights I'm in boxing for. Big coming into my prime now. Any fighter that wants to do well in the sport of boxing, these are the fights that you got to be and want to be involved in. And from a kid, these are the type of fights, magnitude of fights that I want to be involved in from a kid. So there's no way I was going to turn a fight down like this.
So how's the training gone? Who have you been sparring with for this fight?
I've been sparring a couple of different kids. They've been coming up from, they've been travelling, and we've just been trying to replicate what we believe Eubank will do in the fight. Obviously Chris brings a lot of pressure and he's a pressure fighter. We've also had to think that he's changed trainers, and is he going to change the way he fights with bringing Roy Jones on board? Yeah. His style of fighting. But I think any fighter, when they're in a tough fight, which I do believe for Chris it will be a tough fight, you'll always revert back to what you've always done. And Chris has always been a good fighter, and yeah, we've brought inspiring partners that will replicate that.
Have you ever met him or come across him at all? I just wonder what you thought of him, his personality, because his persona is a lot different to 90% of boxers.
Yeah, of course, a lot of fighters are like that. You meet them, the most humble people. But to be honest, I've never paid too much attention to Chris Eubank and his, the way he is. He's like my mate, I think. You either love him or you hate him. And but to me, to be honest, he's never ruffled my feathers, or he's never rubbed me up the wrong way. And it doesn't bother me. He's got a great act. He's like his dad. He's got a great act in the ring, out the ring. But I've actually met Chris Eubank. I said this the other day. I did an interview the other day, and as a kid, he was. We bumped into each other. We crossed paths through a trainer that I used to train with, and I was only a kid. I was only probably 12, 13 at the time. And it's a funny story. Actually, we actually went paintballing together. I must have been 13, he must have been 15, maybe 16. And yeah, he come along to my birthday party. We went paintballing, me and a load of my pals from school. We all worked the day off school and went paintballing, and Chris came along because he was in the camp training with, I think it was me, who was a senior at the time.
Yeah, of course, when you were a young lad, Ricky's gym.
Yeah, Ricky's gym, all around that sort of time.
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah.
So yeah, he came along. And yeah, but other than that, you know, we don't know each other. He's been in the gym before. I've seen him sparring in our gym before, but other than that, it doesn't go much further than that. We don't know each other sort of personally.
Yeah, I mean, you've been a pro. I think you're getting on for seven years. Is it in September? 6.5 years now. About, is it?
Time flies.
7.5 years. So it's a long time. Well, not a long time, but you know, you're midway through a career.
Yep.
How well do you think you've done to turn it around? You had a terrible 2018. The loss to Jason Wellborn, a lot of people saw at the arena. It was on TV. Then, you know, the Ty and Booth setback, and then Alistair Warren. How did you lift yourself from that?
Look, first of all, as it started, I got off to a great start. You know,
I know that. Yeah, of course. Sorry. Yeah, but I'm saying you had that great start. You had those 3 losses in 4, I think it was.
From being up there and tipped for, you know, great things from the great start, with a great start, it probably hit me even harder, you know, when it come crashing down. Because obviously, like I said, I was hyped to be, you know, to do massive things. And, you know, I'm not gonna lie, it was a bad time for me after those losses. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, that those 3 losses, they all happened so quickly. And it feels like a long time ago now since the last loss. And it all feels, it's weird. It feels like one big loss instead of 3 losses. It feels like one big loss at the time, because it all just happened so quickly. And you know, at that time it was a bad time, and I had to really, you know, dig deep and look deep and see if it was something that I wanted to do, and it's something that I believe I could keep doing and get to where I thought I could get before the losses. And I made a few changes at the time. And, you know, I pulled myself back, and I do believe, you know, I done well to drag myself from where I was. And then, you know, I'm glad I did that, and I'm back to sort of, you know, look at the fight I'm involved in now. Yeah. I believe I can go and win, and, you know, put my career right back in a win. You know, he's tipped to be world level. He's calling out huge names.
Was the Wellborn loss just something that blew you away, because you went into that a big fight? It was one of the main fights at the arena that night on one of Ant Croller's cards. That must have been, you know, being from Manchester, that must have been the one that really hurt and perhaps caused that bad year. You know, being in front of so many people who had come to see you. Definitely,
the Wellborn loss was one that got to me the most, because, you know, at the end of the day, and that night, I was beat by the better man. Now, I don't believe, you know, Wellborn's a better fighter than me at all. But on that night, he was a better man. And that felt like that feels now like so long ago. And looking back, you know, I don't know if I was ready for that fight. He was rough, he was rugged, and he was a man. He was a strong man. And looking back, I was only a boy, I think.
Yeah.
I wasn't the fulfilled middleweight that I am now. You know, I've been there before. It's been hard before, and I've got through it. And I think I need a few more of those kind of tests before I went into it. You know, Jason was he was flying at the time. Well, not at the time. You know, after that he went on to, you know, he had a great. And you know, I probably caught Jason at the wrong time as well. You know, he was just getting into great form, and yeah, but he was just a better man in the night. But, you know, that was a long time ago now, and I've moved. You know, I believe I'm a much better and bigger, stronger fighter than what I was back then.
Well, you were 24 at the time. That's got, you know, that is a long time ago in boxing development terms. But since then, you know, you've got people, I think, failing to see in the fight with you. But you already gambled once before when you went to Italy to fight Blandamura, who's a very solid European fighter.
Yeah, of course. You know, you look at his record. He's only been beat by very, very good fighters, world champions. And yeah, I was wrote off then, and, you know, it's happening again. But I don't mind. Honestly, I went into that fight not caring that I was underdog. Bookies had me, you know, at a loss. You know, fans, Twitter's the worst for it. You know, wrote me off. But like I said, I don't mind. And like same with this fight, I'm going into this fight, and, you know, massive no again. But guess what? I don't care.
I know you do. I can tell that. Do you read the Twitter and all that? What's being said about you?
Listen, you catch the odd few, you scroll for you, catch the odd few, but it doesn't.
You're not one of these who sits at night just reading everything on your timeline.
read everyone, and but if you let it, it'll get to you, because the amount
of course,
that dig you out on Twitter and don't have nothing better to do. If you sit there reading that all day and all night, then it's going to put you in a bad place. So I just switch off from it, and like I said before, I was expecting it, and it doesn't bother me.
Yeah. Do too many boxers, do you think, get into the Twitter, like get into rows on there, read every negative comment and respond? Do you think too many of them waste too much energy? As I say, you might flick through your timeline quick and put it down, but do you think some of the guys, spend too much time near a fight, sitting there for an hour every night, searching their name and what have you?
I do think so. I think you can get caught up in doing that, and after the Wellborn loss, I wanted to say it, I was getting stick and slated, and I probably shouldn't have done that. It's never a good idea, to be honest. But sometimes curiosity kills the cat, and I do think fighters do get caught up in looking and just can't help themselves. But you've got to learn to switch off sometimes, and Twitter's probably, in social media forms, Twitter's probably the worst for it. There's, if it's fake accounts or some people just got nothing better to do than just give fighters or sports people stick. And it's just not something I get involved. You get people replying, and I think once you reply to one, it just opens the floodgates for plenty more to what I reply and just what and whatnot. So I'd rather just leave them to it.
So how did you? I know Joe's managed you, but when you had that brief, I think you went to Pat Barrett's gym. What made you go back to Joe? As you train, although I know you've always had a good relationship, and he's been your manager.
Yeah, when me and Joe went our separate ways, it was for I believe a good reason. I needed something fresh and new, and at the time, I do believe it was the right decision, because I think I got that. But it come to a time where I felt like, I wanted to be back with Joe, and Joe was the man that I wanted in my corner. So I think at the right time again, both times I think was the right times for doing what I did, and I've got my own reasons for that.
Yeah, of course.
Was the right time to move back to Joe, and I'm really enjoying my boxing and my training now, and I'm in a good place, and I just think I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. We've got a great group of lads, and Tasha, going into a big fight like this, and I'm in a good. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it. I
mean, what sort of week do you think what sort of night it'd be for the gym if you and Tasha win? Because you're both, you're a big underdog, and Tasha's an underdog.
Yeah, imagine we pulled both of those fights. Probably one of Britain's, biggest upsets in one night that there's ever been. I'm really actually looking forward to Tasha's fight. She's flying at the minute. I see her every day sparring, training, and she looks, she's in a great place, and it's well worthy of topping the bill, and I can't wait to watch that fight. Obviously, Kate Taylor, great fighter, done great things for women's boxing, and I just think it's the making for a great fight. And if, like I said, we go and pull both of them off, that'd be some night.
I mean, it must be incredible. I know there's no fans there next week. It just must be great to be back in that arena again. Because it was Wellborn the last time you was there, or do you have one since then there?
I think it might have been.
Yeah, could have been the last. Yeah, so it must be great just going back there now.
So yeah, it's nice to be back on the big stage and tell her. So yeah, I just can't wait to get back to the arena. I've been there obviously many times before, and it's sort of like a second home to me now. I love from start to finish, pulling through the gates, changing rooms. It means a lot to me, that place. And I've always said, like, many fighters want to fight all over the world. Manchester, Madison Square Gardens, Las Vegas, wherever it might be. But with a packed out arena, obviously there's no crowds this time round. But for me, in front of your own crowd, if it was packed out with fans, there'd be no better place for me than to fight on my doorstep, at Manchester Arena.
What have you got to do to win this fight on the night?
This fight, it's gonna. I do believe that Chris is gonna try and box. I believe that he's probably. added a new string to his bow, bringing Roy Jones in. But to beat someone like Chris Eubank, you've got to be able to box very well and fight when you need to, because at some points in this fight, it's going to come to sort of close, to mid to close distance, and that's where you've got to be able to go with Chris and fight as well as beat him, skill wise and boxing as well. So you've got to be able to box very well and fight when you need to. And I think if I put both of them things together, I've got a great chance.
And man, going up against Roy Jones Jr., Gallagher versus Roy Jones Jr., eh?
Hey, it's mad. Looking back as a kid, he was, well, even now he's one of my idols. One of the I believe one of the greatest ever put on a pair of gloves. So yeah, that's probably going to be a surreal moment. But putting that aside, I've got a job to get on with, and
of course you have.
It's a big job.
Yeah, you can wait till after the fight to meet Roy properly and get a picture with him.
But like I said, it's a big task, and my mindset will be fully focused on getting task at hand completed, and I'm looking forward to it. Not long to go now. Wait.
Final question: do you remember who won the paintballing out of you and Chris, or was it teams?
It was a team game. I can't even remember who won, to be honest. It could have been the same team. Like I said, a long time ago. He might not even remember it. I can't remember, to be honest. But listen, at the time, he was a good laugh. So yeah, I'm sure once the fight's over, we'll have a chat and look back. But it's all business beforehand. I'd
lay money when you're at a press conference. That's a certainty to be brought up the paintball line later in the week. It's all you're going to be asked about at the press conference. I guarantee you, Chris will say, "I don't remember it," and then when you're having a chat afterwards, he'll tell you he did remember it. Guaranteed.
That's the way it's going to go, of course.
Marcus, thanks for joining us today and giving us some time, and enjoy the build up to the fight as well, because even if you win next weekend, these fights don't come around every week, so savor every minute of the build up.
One of the reasons why you can't turn down fights like this, because like I said, they don't come around often, and when they do, you got to make sure you're ready and give it everything you got. And like I said, I'm looking forward to doing that, and I think it's going to be a great, exciting fight.
Thanks very much for your time, and enjoy the week.
Thanks a lot, pal.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
For all boxing info, news and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.